Let me. Right on. Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee. Ms. Thompson, would you like to do roll call, please? And there are people online as well.
Yeah. Councillor Campbell?
Present.
Councillor Middleton Hope?
Present.
Chair Parker?
Here.
And then we also have Councillor Croson, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel, and Councillor Palladino all here observing, and Deputy Mayor Dodick is absent. We have quorum. Oh, and Mayor Higgin, who I didn't see earlier. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I'll read the acknowledgement statement. The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationships to the land. The City of Lethbridge offers respect to the Métis and to all who have lived on this land and made Lethbridge their home. I had the following resolution signed by Councillor Campbell, the adoption of the agenda 3.0. Be it resolved, the May 15th, 2025 agenda of the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee be adopted as presented. Councillor Campbell.
Madam Clerk, are there any additions?
There are not.
Then I'll call for the vote.
Question's been called. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. I have the following resolution signed by Councillor Middleton Hope. Item 4.0, consent agenda. Be resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee, 1, approve the minutes of the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee meeting held on April 17th, 2025, and authorize the Chair and City Clerk to sign the same. And 2, receive for information the status of director resolutions for May 15th, 2025. Councillor Middleton Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Clerk, any changes?
No.
No. So accept it as it is, and I'll call a question.
Question's been called. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. So we go right to item 5.1, 2024 Public Art Program Annual Report. I do think we do have a video, right, Ms. Beck? So awesome. I think the City Clerk's Department's got it all ready to go. Awesome.
Okay, hello. I'm Katie Wild, Public Art Coordinator at the Allied Arts Council of Lethbridge. I'm thrilled to share this update on last year's exciting work in the City of Lethbridge's Public Art Program. It was our busiest year yet, with 18 new artworks installed across the city. Among these were 7 new vinyl wraps by local artists, completing a set of 10 traffic control boxes along 13th Street. Vinyl wraps are an economical way to bring thoughtful art to more public spaces while providing paid opportunities to a wider community of artists. The program continues to be a beloved local initiative. In addition to reducing graffiti and prolonging the life of the infrastructure, these works also spark joy and reflection in the community, contributing to a sense of place, belonging, and civic pride. Francisca Legg's Untitled, originally part of the Utility Box pilot project, was relocated to maintain visibility after infrastructure changes in Galt Gardens. In consultation with the artist, the work was reinstalled at the Helen Schuller Nature Center. The west-facing wall of the Lethbridge Public Library now prominently features Nitoi Itzinka Si, Lodge Stories and Histories by Abi Sumachra, William Singer III. The spirit world and the earth, each becoming like a book in itself, citing the natural world as the foundation of knowledge. At the Multicultural Center, Colleen Devine's Embodied transforms the streetfront awning into a message of welcome. Informed by community engagement with the Southern Alberta Ethnic Association, this piece celebrates the diverse people of Lethbridge with words of home, community, belonging, and celebration in over 50 languages. In June, Nathan McGuinness completed his mural Sending Blessings at CASA. Perched high on the exterior's south side and lit up after dark, this highly visible work combines traditional Blackfoot symbols with contemporary approaches to explore reconciliation through the arts. Over the summer, project partners supported new work by 8 muralists from across Canada, 5 of whom are local to Lethbridge. These combined efforts contributed to the beautification of our cityscape through the Community Murals program. In June, Jerry Rugg of Toronto kicked off the season by bringing the lush botanicals of Green Jay to the alley behind Blanco Cantina in partnership with Sill and Soil. Young at Heart by Calgary's Alex Kwong followed, depicting moments of early childhood along the north wall of Health Active Living Corporation. From there, murals spread throughout Lethbridge, beyond the downtown core. Local artists Darcy Logan and Aaron Hagen painted confluence across a 60-foot span of the Bonnydale Shopping Centre. As they painted imaginary hybrids of native and introduced species, the artists gathered stories from residents about what brought them to the city, weaving a sense of community and belonging into the artwork itself. Meanwhile, University of Lethbridge alumna Laurel Scott brought native flora to life on the living roof of the Helen Schuler Nature Center, encouraging viewers to learn the Blackfoot names of local plants. The Nicholas Shearing Park Picnic Shelter now features Tranquil Tracks, a tribute to regional wildlife and landscapes by local artist Jen Roberts. At Purple Carrot, Calgary's Sarah Slaughter fell in love with Lethbridge just as the community fell for her instantly iconic purple mural, Hair and Now. Bringing the suite of community murals to a seasonal close, local artist Derek Crine benefited from October's fair weather as she finished Contented Cabbage above Nectarvine Tattooing. These projects were made possible in partnership with public facilities as well as private businesses, who not only provided walls to be beautified, but seeing the value in the program contributed funding as well. Murals are high-impact projects that provide a myriad of benefits to their community, from graffiti mitigation to public safety. They attract visitors, increase foot traffic, and demonstrate a city's pride in its infrastructure and in the experience of its residents and visitors. In 2024, Public Art launched Ripple Effect, a multi-phase project at the Logan Boulay Arena in honor of Boulay's lasting impact as a hockey player, community member, and national symbol for organ donation awareness. After his passing in the 2018 Humboldt Broncos tragedy, the athlete's selfless decision to become an organ donor saved 6 lives and inspired thousands of Canadians to register as donors, an impact now known as the Logan Boulay Effect. Inspired by the idea of echoing impacts, the project will see several cycles of new work installed at the arena over the coming years. In the first iteration, Interwoven Legacies by local artist Carla Mathercox reflects Boulay's legacy through imagery created using photos from the Boulay family and the Galt Museum, displayed on the arena's exterior windows and the newly wrapped Zamboni. The public response to these works has been overwhelming, from enthusiastic feedback at artist talks and community conversation to requests from citizens, tourists, and project partners. The appetite for more public art in Lethbridge continues to grow, and we're excited for what comes next. Thank you to all the artists, businesses, organizational partners, and community supporters who made 2024 a success. We look forward to continuing this work in 2025 and beyond.
Wow, that's really nice. That is, I didn't realize how much there was in our community. Take questions on this. Thanks, Ms. Pratt, or anyone on your behalf as well. So we do have questions. Oh, with the public? Yes, that's right. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on item 5.1 at this time? For a second time? And for a third and final time? Seeing none. Ms. Brack. Councillor Crowson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the video and for all the work that has been done. Obviously, we did a lot of public art over the last year, and it is absolutely amazing as you walk or ride around the community. One of my questions, though, is around, as we get more public art, we need to maintain more public art. And right now, our maintenance money comes from that 1% that is set aside through community services capital projects. 10% of that yearly funding is allocated for maintenance. And yet you've heard council say over the last little while, we want more and more money in the capital projects to go to asset management, protecting what we already have. And we've warned everyone that we probably won't have much money for capital projects. So if there are no community services capital projects, there's no money for maintenance. So what is the plan for your department? Do you have a plan? And if so, what is it for how to actually maintain all this public art if there are no capital projects?
There we go. Sorry. Through the chair to Councillor Crowson. One of the initiatives identified in the Public Art Annual Report is an update to our Public Art Master Plan. And a major focus of that update is looking at doing a condition assessment of all the items that we have, which will garner some recommendations for care moving forward, as well as looking to establish a more robust conservation program for public art. That being said, council's wisdom in the past has put us in a great place with the public art policy and budget, such that we have had that
maintenance reserve generating funding now for several years. We have a maintenance reserve right now of several $100,000, which we can use to maintain the pieces we have. And then moving forward, there'll be recommendations coming to council in advance of the next CIP for changes to how public art is funded as part of that public art master plan update, recognizing that there are definitely some pros to the percent for art funding mechanisms, but also some challenges which you've identified in times when there's no capital, community services capital projects being approved, then public art isn't getting any money. So there'll be some options presented to council to contemplate and decide coming out of that master plan update. Do we want to make changes in pursuit of perhaps a more sustainable funding mechanism for public art that would not only support new projects, but would also have maintenance at top of mind. So I think the takeaway would be we're in a good position right now to continue to care for the pieces that we have. And then there's more information coming for council as we work on that updated master plan.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear there's a plan to get through if there's a few bad years. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for wonderful video. That's fantastic. I just wanted to, since it's today, just wanted to add the fantastic mural that was unveiled this morning over at Fort Whoopa. So congratulations on that. That was really great, and the artist was fantastic as well. But my question was, with all of these, the number of people that want to create art and what we've seen, I just wonder what kind of criteria do you go through, and what's the vetting process of saying, rather than saying I've got an idea for this thing on this place, but I'm sure there's a vetting process.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Campbell, we really use our public art master plan and policy as our touchstones and guiding lights when making decisions about what projects to support. We have great guiding principles within those documents, right, that speak to things like diversity of viewpoints and accessibility. So we pull the inspiration for calls directly from those documents and then tailor them to the different kind of areas and opportunities, since that site specificity is really kind of a hallmark of public art. So.
And do you have a panel that goes through the suggestions, and you make that decision based on that panel?
Yeah, we actually initiate ad hoc selection panels for every project. So we gather together a new group of people using a framework that, again, is outlined in our master plan. So every selection committee is unique to the project that they're selecting for. It includes a community member who may have ties to the site or like the location of the project, an artist, perhaps have someone who has experience relevant to the type of project that's being installed, a technical expert who has some expertise related to the type of project, a representative from the Public Art Committee, and then, what's the one that I'm missing? Site owner. So someone who has some claim or stake in the site where the piece is being installed.
And every artist has an opportunity to submit. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. We do open calls. I think the vast majority of our calls have been open and accessible, and the committee is really invested in creating opportunities, following council's direction as well, for artists of all different levels and levels of experience. So from artists who are just emerging to ones who are far established and consider themselves public artists as like their professional practice.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Middleton Hope.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation, Mr. Bracken. I want to dig a little bit deeper into the finances. The 1% that Councillor Crowson alluded to, the community services capital projects, it accounts for what portion of budget spending? So you're talking about 1% of capital improvement budget. How much money is that?
I would have to go back and give you like per year kind of the amount. Is that the information you'd be looking for? We have that information compiled, sure. But it varies, right, dependent upon what is approved in each CIP. But right. Yeah, we have that information available, and we could get that to City Council.
Do you have any sense of what it might have been in the last year or so?
I know we did a bit of benchmarking work as part of the civic culture plan. And again, I'll just reinforce with the master plan. We are going to do some engagement with council at the next Safety and Social SPC in June around this very topic. But when we did it for the culture plan, I would say on average about $250,000 a year is what is coming to the top of my head. But again, the challenges of the 1%, some years are boom and some years are bust. So this year and the past few years for public art, we've only seen a $5,000 annual contribution just because there weren't any projects with funding approved in these years. So whereas when the like ATB Center, CFC was approved, the Crossings Leisure Complex, there was a lot of money coming into public art that year.
Okay, thank you. I do want to compliment you and your staff in regards to a couple of things. The internal program review that you conducted in 2020, the public art plan approved in 2022, the reporting on a regular and consistent basis to the SPC. This demonstrates strong accountability. So I certainly appreciate that, and I know my colleagues do as well. One last question in regards to finances. I calculated, based on the document that you provided to us, that there was a budget of about $810,000 for the various projects that had been identified. That $810,000, can you break it down for me in any context? Is that paid to artists? Does it include personnel budget for your staff? How does that work for you?
Through the chair to Councillor Middleton Hope, I don't think I could do that off the top of my head, but that's absolutely something that I can follow up on and provide you with that information.
That just gives us a better idea of the bang for the buck that we're getting. But thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate it.
Before I go to Councillor Crowson, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel or Mayor Higgin, do you guys have any questions? I don't know if I see your little hand. My eyes are not as good as they used to be. So, Ms. Thompson, if you could just keep your eyes on that, that'd be great. Seeing none, I'll just go to Councillor Crowson.
Thank you again, Chair. You've also not only presented what you did, but what you're hoping to do. And most of this, of course, is within administration. We set the big policies and the finance, but there is one that has me very curious, and that's the Henderson asphalt art. Because we have been seeing anything that is kind of put on asphalt does not have a long-term life to it, especially anything on the streets and stuff. This is a $175,000 project. Can you give us a little more information on it so that we can have some sense of what it is and whether it does have, like whether this one's going to last compared to the others that have it?
Through the chair to Councillor Crowson. This is new territory for the public art program, and it's territory that we are excited to enter. I always try to embrace the view of pilot before policy, and we are very much in that space with this particular type of project. This will be our first kind of entry into this world, and so we are going to take some baby steps and just start with projects that will be on asphalt pathways and then learn from there, and then hopefully then move into larger and potential like roadways, crosswalks, and things like that. So that funding will fund a series of projects that will start small, will evaluate and learn on topics just like what you identified around what is the anticipated lifespan if we install this kind of paint on this surface, and then from there inform potential future projects. We started this work a couple years ago in a partnership with the University of Lethbridge, work integrated learning project with a student there who did a bunch of best practices research as well, all across Canada and really the world, to look at what are people doing in this space, what products are they using, what are the best practices. So we're just building up slowly from there. So there'll be more to come over a span of time that we'll be happy to update council on.
Yeah, some of the best stuff I've seen is actually not even art. It is like putting plaques and stuff into the asphalt, which seems to have, and you got to worry about snow removal and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. The other thing, and this might not be in your purview, might be more Ms. Kleisinger, there is a Henderson plan going on right now for the park. How do you work with other departments, other areas to ensure you're not siloed so that something you're planning for Henderson fits in with what they're planning for Henderson, fits in with the larger strategies that both the city administration has, but what council has as well?
Thank you for the question. The project manager for that district plan sits on our internal project team for our public art master plan update. So that's one way that we are ensuring cross-project coordination. And that same project manager from Parks is also our point person for the first iteration of this Henderson Art project. So just do our best to have those kinds of networks across the corporation. We also have a lot of different departments represented on our public art committee, which helps as well make sure that we're all, the right hand knows what the left hand is doing for sure.
So you won't be building something that has to be ripped out because another department did something?
I sure hope not.
I
That's
mean,
not the
that-
plan.
That is the public concern if we're not talking across. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions from members of the committee or anyone else from council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll probably see you in a few seconds. The following resolution signed by Councillor Campbell. Item 5.1, 2024 Public Art Program Annual Report. The 2024 Public Art Program Annual Report for information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for the video. It's amazing. I just, it blows me away the kind of art that we have in the city and how it beautifies our city as well. And you get people coming in from out of town and saying, boy, that place is clean and it's got nice artwork and it's a beautiful place. So I really, thanks for all the work that you do. It's an amazing organization that you run. And unless there's any other questions, this is for information. I'll call for the vote.
Well, before that, I'll just have my little 2 cents there. I think it's an amazing project. I think it's an amazing video. I'm hoping that people can see it through our City of Lethbridge website. They can click onto it, get more informed. But I also like that it's very proactive in regards to graffiti. You're using areas that are a good palette for someone who doesn't want to legally do art. And so it's a great opportunity to kind of use that palette because I know when there's lots of different colors and all that, it's not very enticing for a graffiti artist. So I think just from that aspect as well, but I think it's awesome. It's a great project. And that video is a good reflection of how far we have come as a community. Any other comments?
Call for the vote.
Question's been called. All those in favor? I do believe it passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.2. Ms. Bracken, Community Arts and Cultural Manager, Recreation Culture regarding the City of Lethbridge Fine Art Collection Update. And I know you're making a presentation as well. It's hard to follow up that video, just so you know, but I think you'll do great.
Good afternoon, Chair Parker and members of the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee. I'm here today to provide you with an update on the status of the city's fine art collection. I'm pleased to be joined today in council chambers by members of the city's Public Art Committee and subject matter experts from the Galt Museum and Archives and the University of Lethbridge's Art Gallery. The City of Lethbridge's fine art collection includes a Buchanan bequest, which is 66 works of art, photographs, and other items, and 23 other fine artworks acquired using fine art acquisition funds allocated under Public Art Policy CC30 and the preceding fine art acquisition policy. Council's public art policy identifies the city's Public Art Committee as responsible for advising the city on maintenance and management of the public art collection, which includes the fine art collection. The Public Art Committee is an administrative committee of the Recreation and Culture Department. Using records found in the city's archives, including the Galt Museum and Archives, and at the Southern Alberta Art Gallery, I've done my best to piece together a history of the city's fine art collection for you. The Buchanan bequest, which is the bulk of the city's fine art collection, was received by the city in 1966, following the death of art historian Donald W. Buchanan, son of Senator W.A. Buchanan. This is not to be confused with what's often called the Buchanan Gift, which is a collection of artworks which were given to then Lethbridge College, now Lethbridge Polytechnic. Before his death, Donald Buchanan and his brother Hugh had been corresponding with the city to explore art donation options. The letters indicate that the Buchanans were hoping a space to exhibit and store their donations could be funded out of the Yates bequest, a donation to the city in the late 1950s. Though I've done my best to research it, I'm not clear on all of the details of the history of the bequest between its donation in '66 and the early 1980s. But in the early 1980s, we know that the City of Lethbridge's public art program, which is what we call it now, was first established as an art acquisition policy. The art acquisition policy underwent many reviews and updates from 1984 to the early 2000s. In 2007, the art acquisition policy was expanded to what we now know as Public Art Policy CC30. The public art program continued to grow and evolve from the early 2000s to its present state. And a more detailed summary of this history is included, including information on recent fine art collection activity, is provided on the report sheet accompanying the presentation. Over the past nearly 60 years, the city's public art program, which includes the fine art collection, has grown from a program centered on traditional fine art collecting to one with an increased focus on public access and engagement with many different types of art. The city's Public Art Committee has spent extensive time reviewing the entire fine art collection, with a lot of attention being paid to the Buchanan bequest. Some key observations include acknowledgement that there are not currently resources available to support the continued acquisition of fine art assets, and that the city has no capacity to maintain nor exhibit the fine art it currently has, let alone manage more fine art if collecting continues. The committee has also examined the role of the city in fine art collecting and has found redundancy with the University of Lethbridge maintaining a major fine art collection for the region, and the Galt Museum and Archives' role in preserving the human history of Lethbridge and southwestern Alberta. The current state of the fine art collection sees the Galt Museum and Archives expressing interest in accessioning artwork that meets their institutional collecting mandate. The Public Art Committee supports this direction. The recommendations coming from the city's Public Art Committee are informed by almost 6 decades of history and learning and are guided by the committee's subject matter expertise. The following recommendations were passed by the committee at their December 2024 meeting. 1, to provide the Galt Museum with a notice of intent to donate City of Lethbridge fine art collection items identified in an attachment, noted as potentially aligned with the Galt's collecting mandate for consideration for accessioning into the Galt Museum's collection. 2, to provide the University of Lethbridge with a notice of intent to donate City of Lethbridge fine art collection items not being offered for consideration for accessioning into the Galt Museum's collection for consideration for accessioning into the University of Lethbridge's collection. And yes, it took us 45 minutes in that meeting to wordsmith those resolutions, so, but we eventually got there. Next steps in this transition will see Galt staff follow their acquisition process and bring items to the Galt's Cultural History Collections Committee. Items accepted by this committee will be accessioned into the Galt's collection. Items not accepted will be offered to the University of Lethbridge. Fine art collection items not accessioned by either institution will be put up for auction in accordance with city asset management procedures. Dispositions will be executed in strict adherence to the PUR 06 policy for asset disposition, ensuring optimal value for money and maximizing efficiency. Auction proceeds will go into the public art budget to support future public art projects. Use of these funds will be reviewed and approved by City Council in the next public art work plan, which we anticipate will be presented to Council in 2027. The current fine art reserve within the public art budget will be reinvested into future public art projects. A plan for this reinvestment will be included in the next public art work plan. Thank you, members of Safety and Social SPC, for providing me the time to offer this update on behalf of the Public Art Committee and Recreation and Culture Department. Now stand for questions.
Thank you. Before we go to questions, is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak on item 5.2 at this time? For a second time? Third time, seeing none, we'll move on to questions. Thanks, Ms. Bracken. Councilor Milton Hope.
Thank you again, Ms. Bracken, for the secondary presentation. It's sad that we have to get rid of some of the art exhibit, and we actually don't seem to have a place to put it. Where is it currently being housed? Where are the exhibits being housed currently?
Through the chair to Councillor Middleton Hope, the items within both the Buchanan bequest, the entire fine art collection, is stored in the basement of the old courthouse. Some work over the last few years to make sure that it meets kind of basic storage standards for fine art, but that was another kind of a decision point for the committee was, do we invest tens of thousands of dollars to make that a world-class space, or do we go another route?
Do you have concerns about the potential impact of moisture, mold, other impacts that might affect the art exhibits?
As it's currently stored, there's some concerns, but again, we've done some work within that space to make sure that it is being cared for to kind of the most basic art storage standards.
Okay, just a couple of secondary questions then. Have we looked for a location to house the exhibits permanently and or temporarily? Is there an option to move some of the exhibits around to public spaces like City Hall, for example?
Through the chair to Councillor Middleton Hope, we've done extensive work through an internship with the University of Lethbridge that lasted about 3 full cycles to evaluate all of the available exhibition and storage options. That information was brought back to the committee and reviewed. And again, there are not a lot of great options, which is why the committee has landed at this point of recommending that we go the route of some of the items going to the GALT where they can be properly cared for, stored, and exhibited. Some of the items potentially going to the U of L as well. But I think one of the key things to remember within this collection is that not all of the items are actually even considered fine art. There are a lot of other kind of trinkets and items that were collected and then just given to the city. So the path that's being contemplated and recommended here is one that would see items of significance that align with the GALT's collecting mandate, properly housed, stored, cared for, and exhibited there. Items that, same with the U of L's mandate, properly stored, exhibited, cared for there. And then the other items, the majority of which are not even fine art, would be auctioned off in accordance with city asset management procedures.
Well, you have over nearly $600,000 worth of valuable art. Let's hope that we're able to preserve it. One last question in regards to the proposal to curate art exhibits, or art objects rather, at the GALT Museum. Would the portion of the budget that is allocated for that purpose follow those objects to the GALT Museum?
I can allow my colleagues at the GALT maybe to speak to that. At present, that has not been contemplated, as my understanding is that the resources currently in place at the GALT would be able to properly care for these few additional items. I'm seeing a nod, so that's my understanding is no.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Just sort of along the lines of what to do with the art, and what happens in places like Calgary or Edmonton, where there's probably a lot more art. That, and also, if you had the budget, what would that storage facility look like, and what would be the thought of that?
Through the chair to Councillor Campbell, I may call upon some of our subject matter experts to answer some of these questions and maybe provide some context on other storage facilities. I'm not sure who would like to maybe take a crack at that one. Andrea's here from the U of L Art Gallery. She can maybe speak to.
So you need an appropriate storage facility with temperature, humidity, and security controls, as well as workspace and display space. And then in addition to that, you need trained staff in the care and handling of objects and preventative conservation, as well as, an adequate budget to maintain those types of things moving forward.
But so that would be what a Calgary and an Edmonton would require, and it'd be very cost prohibitive here, I assume.
Yes, I would assume so.
Yeah, because there's a lot of art at the U of L.
Yes, the GALT and the U of L already have these in place.
Yeah.
Whereas the city currently doesn't.
So you would be, I mean, if you're looking at future, again, if money was no object, you'd be probably looking to develop an actual building.
Yes, you'd absolutely need an infrastructure to hold.
Like a massive art gallery that has a lot of, anyway, okay, just.
Yeah.
That's very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Crowson.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Bracken, let's be honest, if it goes to the GALT, it's still owned by the city, a different department of the city, but it's still owned by the city, still under our insurance, and still would be accessible to the public, perhaps more accessible to the public than what we have right now. Dr. Newstead, I see you and Mr. McLean are here, but if I could ask you a question. I don't like unintended consequences. So I need to be.
Our main directions with our accession policy, and the reason why we have a collections accession committee through our board of directors, is to ensure that any objects that we accession into the Galt Museum and Archives collection is going to be preserved in perpetuity. So ensuring that we have the long-term space capabilities and the right storage for any object that we bring into the collections. The other thing that's really important for us is that any objects that we bring into the collections have very high levels of public access, as we are a publicly funded institution. So any of the objects coming from this fine art collection that we formally access into our collections will also be digitized and available online throughout the world for anyone who wants to take a look at them, which is a drastic improvement from what it's currently at, where they're sitting in the basement of the old courthouse. So that's kind of the thrust for this project, is to the objects, the fine art objects that are in alignment with our accession policy for the Galt Museum Archives.
This moved ahead will be recorded for the future, that you will record the transfers, that you will record the sales, that you'll make sure any money that might come from sales is properly used for public art. What do we have in place, or will we have in place if this moves forward, to be able to openly show how this process went?
Through the chair to Councillor Crowson, I may call upon our procurement manager to comment on, as we will go through the procurement policy for the disposal policy for the disposal of some of those items, just to confirm what information is maintained and what can be shared.
Procurement gets to do a little of everything, don't you?
Yeah, I knew that, but I just want to make sure you know, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Hold the mic up. Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Through the chair to Councillor Crowson. Basically, right now, the way that things are structured is we have a flexible process which allows for alternate disposal methods, which could include working with a variety of subject matter experts, of course, sending things to auction. Those items would be categorized, and once those items are actually sold at auction, we retain all the details for that information, and as part of policy, those funds are returned to the business or the business unit that effectively disposes of those assets. So that is actually baked into the policy as structured.
And so we will have complete records 20 years from now. Nobody's going to go, whatever happened to that collection?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Bracken, you might not have the background of this, but again, within the corporation of the city, there have been times in the past where deaccessioning was not done perhaps as well as it is. There are still some bitter memories in some places. So how can, and I know Dr. Newstead is, right now the chair of Alberta Museums. So are you working with Alberta Museums to ensure that anything, because we don't legally have to, the museum does, city doesn't, but will we be working with them to ensure this is done in the most appropriate way for museums and other organizations to do deaccessioning?
Where we are following asset management disposal procedures.
Okay.
The matter of accessioning, yes, my understanding is that the GALT is very much aligned with Alberta Museum standards, and that the process of accessioning into that collection will be done in accordance with all of the best practices. I would say the same of the accessioning that the U of L would potentially do as well. They are a world-class institution, so I don't have any concerns with either of those.
And if throughout the process, anyone from the public or from council has questions, we could get answers throughout the process, where it's at, how things are going.
Yes, you can direct people to me if they have questions. And we may also look at potentially, we have a quite a robust public art website. Perhaps we could create a page there just to provide kind of a status update on where we're at, all of the milestones, similar to what we have on our Get Involved Lethbridge page. We could absolutely do that.
And last question, reputational. Buchanan family, did anyone reach out to them? Is there any concern? Are any of the members around? And if so, have they said, oh my God, don't do this? Or do they not care? Or could we not reach them?
If I may, I'm going to defer that question to our experts at the GALT, who are frequently asked those kinds of questions. So I'm not sure Sarah or Kevin who would like to take that. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Crowson, another great question. So best practice with deaccessioning techniques through the Alberta Museums Association, and we follow this because we are a recognized museum with the Alberta Museums Association, is it gets very tricky especially after a donation that was done so long ago, to establish who has legitimate claims to objects that were donated so long ago, especially with families that start to get split out. So our practice is, we contact people if they are available, but with a donation that's this old, the sort of best practice is to move the objects to the right collections, and then sort of last case, sending stuff to auction, which actually gives the option to the public to acquire the pieces if they're interested. So.
Thank you. So in general, all due diligence has been done. This is following best practices, and this will give money to maintain our public art collection moving forward. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thanks, Ms. Bracken. And thank you everyone else as well to helping out and answering our committee's questions. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. I have the following resolution signed by Councillor Milton Hope. City of Lethbridge Fine Arts Collection Update, item 5.2. Be it resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee received the City of Lethbridge Fine Art Collection Update for information. Councillor Milton Hope.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Ms. Bracken, and your legion of associates who also provided us with some insights. This is an important, it's an important milestone, I think, for our city. And I think moving forward, it's critical that we retain this collection as best we can over the course of time, because I think it's not only for us, but it's for those who might be around in 20 or 30 years when I'm not. So thank you very much for presenting this today. And Mr. Chair, if we have no other comments, or we do, I see, no, he's just clicking his, you do? All right, okay. Then I'll turn it over to Councillor Campbell.
Well, I think I'll be doing that as the
Okay,
chair.
okay, you can go, you go right
Just
ahead.
joking. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
No, it's nothing. I just wanted to add that it's not hyperbole to say that the art collections we have in the city are indeed world class, and it's something we should be very proud of. And I really appreciate what the recommendation is here today. That's basically all I want to say. It's just sometimes we don't realize what we have in our own city, and we have amazing art. So just to put an exclamation mark on it. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Any further comments for closing?
No, I'm ready to call the question when you are.
Question's been called. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. You know I'm joking, Jonathan. Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 5.3 in our agenda. Tara Plato, Chief Executive Officer. Oh, feel free to stay. You can stay as long as you want. Or 5.3, Tara Plato, Chief Executive Officer, Lethbridge Public Library. Norma Cororni, is that, am I pronouncing that right? And you're going to correct me when you come up there, so please do. Chair of the City of Lethbridge Library Board regarding Lethbridge Public Library Board report and report to community. And welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm pleased to be here today to present with Library Board Chair Norma Cororni, to present the library's 2024 report to the community. I think we have a presentation. Oh, and I get to click. Okay, that's new. The 2024 report to the community and board report highlight the activities and accomplishments for the library in the past year, which are driven by the board's strategic goals and grounded in the library's mission, vision, and values. What we saw in 2024 is that more people need the library, whether it is those looking for affordable opportunities for learning and entertainment, those seeking employment or government services, or those wanting to connect with others in their community. We are seeing an increase in demand, both in person and virtually. In 2024, per day on average across our 2 branches and the Bookmobile, the library saw 925 library visits, more than 3,600 items checked out, 115 people participate in a program, 143 people use a public computer, 73 people sign up or renew a library card, and 155 patron questions answered per day. In addition to these, many other activities happen each day at the library, including meeting room bookings, exam invigilation, people using Wi-Fi, and community members using the spaces and facilities without a formal transaction taking place. The library is always looking for new ways to serve our community better and meet community needs. So a few notable highlights from 2024 include the official launch of the Library of Things and Makerspace. The library has been lending more than books for many decades, but the traditional collections of public libraries have been supplemented with collections of things in recent years. The idea for a formal Library of Things grew out of a business case developed for the City of Lethbridge by the Recycling Council of Alberta as part of the Circular Communities Project. The Library of Things enables residents to borrow a variety of items that are needed only for one-time use or to try something new, and includes items like specialized kitchen equipment, tools, technology, and hobby and sports equipment. Similar to the Library of Things, the Makerspace allows people to come into the library to use technology that can't be loaned. Makerspace Monday programs have been filled to capacity regularly and have staff helping people to learn and use creative tools such as sewing machines, a Cricut cutting machine, fabric printer, and a 3D printer. The Makerspace is generously supported through individual donations and the Friends of the Library. The Library of Things and Makerspace help reduce community waste and consumption and contribute to social inclusion, accessibility, and affordability for all members of the community. The library launched a new website in 2024 through a partnership with Chinook Arch Regional Library System that saw a long overdue upgrade to our website and online services and resulted in a 33% increase in traffic to the website. Our new, easy-to-navigate website is consistent in style and layout with the 32 other libraries in Southern Alberta and makes it easier to find the resources and information you are looking for, ensuring improved access to the library's virtual spaces and services. The library is always looking for new ways to engage readers of all ages. New reading programs launched in 2024 include Paws and Pages, which invites children to read to a furry friend, the Dragon Reading Club, which offers trading cards to young readers to keep them motivated, and the Great Library Readathon, which uses an online platform to encourage patrons of all ages to set personal daily reading goals and earn prizes for reaching those goals. Reading programs promote a love of reading and encourage lifelong learning habits. And lastly, the library officially opened our outdoor programming space named the Owl Sanctuary. This area is used for planned programs when the weather is nice and passive play throughout the year that connects visitors to natural elements, movement, sound, and creativity. The outdoor programming space equipment was generously funded by the Friends of the Library and provides another type of learning activity for families when visiting the library. We know that libraries are about much more than numbers. It's about the people who make up our community. Our impact is best shared through the stories of those who use our services. That is why I'm pleased to welcome Board Chair Norma Corney, library user, as well as Board Chair, to share her story of why the library is important to her.
Hey, thank you. Welcome, Ms. Karani.
I am here to give voice to the impact behind the numbers, to tell one story that demonstrates the impact of libraries. And the only story I have any right to is my own. I have always loved libraries. As a teenager, I loved to walk the aisles and look at the books, and so many adventures waiting between the pages. My love of libraries continued through university, where I studied history and law at the University of Saskatchewan. There, the law library was utterly silent. No one dared breathe loudly, surrounded by the weight of written law. It was almost as if all the heavy thoughtfulness that went into writing and interpreting law was held in those books. Later, when I became a mother, I took my daughters to the library to choose books, read stories, make crafts, play with other babies, and generally be fascinated by the bubble-making machine. I still take my daughters to the Lethbridge Library, where they choose stacks of graphic novels, and I drag them down to the cookbook section. Even now, when rare and complex medical illness have forced me to set aside law, the library continues to be a source of information and inspiration. I am the granddaughter of a poor Italian immigrant. My own father never finished school. It sounds dramatic, but the fact that I grew up and practiced law is due to the values and existence of libraries. The first value I want to emphasize is availability. The library is open to anyone, even me. The doors opened for me when I was poorly dressed and socially awkward. Despite all my limitations, I was able to choose anything I wanted. There was nothing withheld from me. This was amazingly powerful, this place to belong. The thing the library gives each of us is a place to belong, a place to be. You can come for a club or a service. You can use a computer, choose a book, read the latest paper, pick up seeds, pick a hobby. You can come just to sit in a sunny spot. You can meet people or information, or if you are very small, you can sing songs about your knees and toes and being eaten by a python. What we learned during COVID was the importance of meeting in person, in real places. Now, whether you're a senior, a teenager, a new mom, there is a place to meet at the library. The immense impact the library has on building community and belonging is difficult to fully describe. The second value I want to emphasize is learning and literacy. As an elementary school student, I was a poor reader. I spent hours in the resource room. It was the thrill of stories that drew me in and kept me doggedly learning to read. It is no more than the truth to say that had I not learned to read well, I would never have studied history nor law, nor would I enjoy the rich benefit of so many interests. For me, reading is the magic that opens every door. You can learn anything if you can read. That is why I chose the Albert Einstein quote displayed here today. The only thing you really need to know is the location of the library. There are few problems that cannot be solved or at least improved by knowledge, education, and a place to belong. As chair, it is my hope that the library will continue to be a magic key that turns the door of adventure, knowledge, and achievement for anyone who wishes to use it. This is my third year on the board. I have watched carefully and read deeply. The Lethbridge Public Library is well run. It's built on good principles and policies that make sense. It's doing great work, and I look forward to sharing this treasure with you and with Lethbridge. I'm incredibly proud to be part of the library. By providing generous financial support, you as city councillors are investing in civic engagement, literacy, knowledge, community gathering, and creativity. You are holding open the door to each citizen and welcoming them inside. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caroni.
I just have one more slide. So as you heard, the library makes a difference in people's lives every day, people just like Norma. We're often the first point of connection, information, and leisure, the pillars to feeling like you belong in a community. And as the demand for our services continues to increase, we must be prepared to meet community needs. We're grateful for Council's continued support of library services. It allows us to innovate, grow, and improve, always with Lethbridge in mind. Thank you for your time today, and we're happy to answer any questions.
And thank you for being here, and thank you for both your presentations. Is there anyone else in the community, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on this item at this time? For a second time? And for a third and final time, seeing none, we'll now move on to questions from committee and members of City Council. Councillor Milton Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Plato, for the presentation this afternoon. It was great. I, too, reflect on my time learning to read and living in books while I was a young boy that had a number of illnesses. So I was at home for long periods of time, and I had the only thing that we could get was to go to the library and pick up books. Of course, I didn't get to do that. Somebody else did it for me. Ms. Plato, do the numbers that you've provided for us include online visits?
online visits is reflected in, so there's a page including statistics. So we have 1.5 million visits to the homepage. That's visits to our homepage of our website. There are separate statistics that would reflect usage of our online services.
Yeah, that's actually more what I'm interested in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can give those to you if you like.
Sure. Just give us an idea. The reason that I mention that is my wife takes out between 3 and 5 books online every week. You're saving me a ton of money, and I appreciate that. Now, I'm not willing to take the $120 a week or the $500 a month and turn it over to the library, but at least I can use that for some other purpose.
That is an option you have if you wish to.
And you get a tax receipt.
And you do.
That's true. So we had, in 2024, we had 200,033 ebooks, audio, and magazines checked out. In addition, we had 127,000 uses of our online databases, so online learning platforms, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Just a couple of questions in regards to the physical environment. Couple of questions around, has the fencing helped? And has it helped to reduce some of the abnormal use and graffiti around your building?
So as I talked about last year, what we wanted to do there was create an outdoor space that would really create a different environment in the around the library and in the downtown. So the fencing really allows us to maintain the space overnight and keep it clean and up to standards, but it is open during the day for anybody to use. And what we have found is that people use that space even when it's cold. It's amazing how much children will play with gravel and mud kitchens and that sort of thing. And so it certainly created this space that I think has a lot of positive energy around it. But again, we don't restrict people from entering the space during the day. It's really to maintain the space during off hours.
Okay. Last, just a suggestion, big screen TV. If you had a big screen TV, 75-inch, then I'm sure you would, because you talked about mothers and children and so forth. Let's get some of the dads and grandpas in there. Maybe they could watch hockey games while their families are walking around looking at books. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Councillor Crowson.
I can't help but think it wouldn't be that many months of $500 a month where they could afford the big screen TV. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the information and for the presentation. We see a lot of annual reports, and one thing I noticed right away, and it's more of a comment, but I appreciate it, is that you two did a combined welcome and message. So you see the board chair and the CEO put one in together, really shows a unified organization, and I appreciated that immediately because I'm like, okay, obviously this is a board and a staff that work well together because they could write one message together, and you don't see that very often. But you are in a field that is changing constantly. If we'd gone into a library 10 years ago, there would have been a lot more books on the shelf. Now it's a lot more about technology. It is about that website. What are the challenges in the next few years that you foresee for the library?
Yeah, I'll maybe start. Norma, you're welcome to jump in if you have any thoughts. What I would say is that I don't know that we have fewer books, and that's really important to point out, is that we're not decreasing our collections because, in fact, demand for our collections is growing. So our circulation of physical books continues to go up. There is the addition of the online materials, but that hasn't actually resulted for us, at least, in a decrease of the physical collection. So we continue to maintain the collections. But as you said, there's fast-growing technology. So again, one of the things we do is provide spaces like the Makerspace and do programming, that sort of thing, that really is meant to help the public have exposure to that and help us learn it too, because AI is something that we're grappling with right now, and how we the library is a lot about information literacy and determining good information from malinformation or misinformation. And so we are trying to figure out our role in helping to grapple with AI and what is real and what isn't, but it's definitely a role the library has to play, and there's new challenges with that. Cybersecurity, that sort of thing has become a big challenge. And then, of course, we have the ongoing challenge that we've talked about for many years. We've had to grow, our security teams over the years and put a lot more resources into how we make the space work for everybody and make it inclusive. And so that's been a real pressure on us as well. And I know every urban library in North America is experiencing similar things. So I would say that increased kind of demand and pressure. Also, while costs are going up, inflation, books cost more. Bringing in computers is going to cost a lot more. So, trying to maintain and grow with costs increasing is what I would really see as the major challenges.
Yeah, thank you for correcting that when I said less books, because that's what we hear from the public as a concern. You go in, there's fewer books. So is it more they are stored in different places, but they are still there, so the public may not see them as much when they first walk in, because you're using that for other spaces. But if you go downstairs, there are a lot of books.
Yeah, so when we did the renovations of the main branch, 2018, something like that, 2015 to 2018. The design of the branch was really to open it up for lots of different reasons, and we created this social gathering space on the upper level, and there is a floor load issue in the upper level of the library, which meant that the books had to be moved off of that floor, the upper floor on the north wing. So we did move a lot of them down to the north wing, so they're a little bit more hidden, at least the nonfiction. But yeah, so it's a lot more open, and that's very, on best practices for public libraries, having open spaces. But the books are still there. They're just maybe in a different place and not as visible right when you walk in.
If you come to the microphone, just so so people online can hear you, that'd be great. You can sit down and relax too.
Through the chair to Councillor Crowson. One of the great pleasures of being on the board is working with such an experienced CEO, which does such a great job of keeping us informed about the operational considerations facing the library. As a board, one of the things that we are deeply aware of and hope our values reflect are the number of emerging both political and social trends which really threaten value of libraries. And so as a board, we really believe our role is to maintain the library's commitment to intellectual freedom and also to really put out the message about what libraries do, because I think if anybody really understands the great work that the library offers, if they're really coming in and seeing the work that is done, that they will believe, like we believe, that the library is an essential service. And so it's this combination of being aware that there are trends and being committed to good policy, and also just that communication piece, saying, we are still relevant. These are the great things that we do.
You raise an issue because it doesn't take long online to see how libraries, librarians, and library board members are being attacked. So do you do training both to understand what is happening, but also to be able to react to it in a way that is accurate and does not use misinformation? Do you have training for both staff and board for how to react in a world where libraries are sometimes seen as something to attack?
With respect to the board, we don't do specific training. It is something we discuss. We do have policies in place which limit who may speak publicly on behalf of the board, so that is limited to the chair. We've not had to face any of those specific attacks, but I know if that's coming, we will do so in a measured and respectful way. We've implemented a number of policies which reflect the best practices in libraries. And so when you've implemented the best policies, they're easy to defend. And I'll let Tara comment about how the staff are prepared.
Yeah, so intellectual freedom is a board policy, and it's one of the core policies. Every staff member who works at the library learns about intellectual freedom, learns the importance of it. We have a lot of library staff, so we have both librarians and library techs, technicians that have formal schooling. So librarians have master's degrees. So there's obviously a lot of learning in that. And then the library technicians is a 2-year diploma program. So there is a requirement actually by law to have a certain number of professional staff at public libraries exactly for that reason. We also do a lot of collaboration across the province and across Canada with our partners, other public libraries. We share information, we share resources, we respond in a unified way to challenges, so libraries are very sharey. We learn a lot from each other, and we leverage each other's resources and knowledge. So there's a lot of different activities that go to support that.
And is there any support you would like to see from council, from city as a corporation in this, or do you have it managed? Outside of money.
I mean, I feel like from an intellectual freedom perspective, we're pretty well versed in that. We're kind of the experts in that area, and I think really again, council asking the questions and learning, kind of the library's role, and also perhaps exploring what role we could play more with the city in disinformation and misinformation is what I would say we could do, is really working together, because obviously we're here to support the city's objectives as well.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Crowson, I think from a board perspective, the ask would be just unity in our support for the library, that whether it's from the board or from council, that we are unified in supporting the wonderful work that's being done.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Thanks again for the presentation. Always love being on the library board. It was my favorite ever. But you talked about always dealing with public safety over the years. It's always been an issue, not only in Lethbridge but everywhere, in every library. But I just wonder, over the last few years, what is the perception versus the reality of the safety in the library that you can determine from the public? Because sometimes just because a guy looks weird or a gal looks weird doesn't mean that you're in trouble. It's just that perception.
That is true.
Look at me.
Yeah. So again, it's something that every urban library public library has really been challenged with. I would say that we in Lethbridge, at the library at least, have been less challenged than some of the other bigger cities. But I would say we also took a really proactive approach very early on, put a lot of resources into things, and we continue to develop our spaces, our policies, our procedures to make sure that that we have a robust code of conduct that can be enforced when it's needed, that we have spaces that can be managed well. So I would say that it still is showing up in our public surveys in regards to the downtown branch, but less so. And I would say that it continues to be something that we'll always probably have to think about, and how we make the spaces work for everybody, because they are for everybody, and everybody has a right to be in the public library, and the code of conduct is really what governs whether you can be there or not, and that is a requirement by Alberta legislation, but it's also just what public libraries have always been. And in fact, one of the things I like to remind people about, when we did our 100th anniversary, we did a museum exhibit with the Galt Museum, who's no longer here. And one of the things that we found was a newspaper article from when the first public library was opened in Lethbridge. And it said that the library is a place for people, a safe place for people. It didn't, there are books, but it didn't actually talk about books as the main thrust. And I would say that's that's obviously still the case.
The other thing that just kind of popped in my mind, I mean, I wonder, because you were talking about having to close down when COVID hit, of course, and I know that in some institutions that has been a lingering effect. I wonder if that's if we're over COVID from those days. Are we done?
I would say that, yes, that we, I don't think that we're experiencing any like slowdown from COVID, except for what we've seen is a bit of a change in how people use. So the one area that our statistics are lower from pre-COVID is physical visits to the library, but everything else is up. And so we think that's for actually a number of reasons, but we're seeing those numbers continue to trend up, but we're also seeing that more people take advantage of the online resources. And so there was a little bit of a behavior change, I think, that happened in the pandemic, and that's what we're seeing in those numbers. But other than that, again, our numbers are, in terms of how people are using the library, are overall above what they were pre-COVID. So I wouldn't say there are any lingering effects aside from that change in behavior.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Any further questions? Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you very much for your presentation as well. I have item signed by Councillor Milton Hope, item 5.3, the Lethbridge Public Library 2024 Annual Report. 5.3, be resolved that Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee received the Lethbridge Public Library 2024 Annual Report for information. Councillor Milton Hope.
Thank you, and thank you to Ms. Plato and to the chair of the Library Board. There you go. Appreciate the information as well as the report, and thank you for responding to all our questions this afternoon. And I'll call the question, Mr. Chair.
Question's been called. All those in favor? Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. So now we have our presentations are now done. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, our submissions. I'll read the motion first by Councillor Campbell. Item 6.1, the Lethbridge Police Commission 2025 Annual Plan. Be it resolved that the Safety and Social Standing Policy Committee recommend that Council receive the Lethbridge Police Commission 2025 Annual Plan as provided in Attachment 1 for information. I know we have people from the Police Commission here, our chair and as well as our Deputy Chief, which I greatly appreciate. I know you don't have a presentation, but I do believe you're going to be willing to entertain questions if members of the committee have any questions. Now, I know a procedure, since it's not a presentation, do I still to call in the public? Okay. Is there anyone in the public that wants to speak on this submission, it's item 6.1? For a second time. And for a third and final time, I see no one here. Members of committee, do you have questions? I do see some. And I do believe if you would like to come up to the microphone, both you individuals, be great. And thank you for being here as well. Councillor Crowson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for bringing this forward. I think you know how much I am so happy to see it after how many years we didn't have annual plans coming forward from the Police Commission. I don't know where the decision lied, but why is this a submission and not a presentation as you saw coming out of Public Art and the library?
Because it's a follow-up from the 2023 submission. It went from 2023 to 2025. It does not have to be a presentation. It's a continuation.
So we would link all back with that, and it was a decision to do it that way. Okay. Because, of course, you do account for 21.3% of all property tax money collected by the city. And so, of course, the public expects us to ask you that many more questions than any other department. So you are ready, right?
I am, and I have a very dependable acting chief, Gerald Grobmeyer, with us, who is a recent recipient of the King... My name,
Charles III.
The cold in my head, King Charles Award.
And congratulations on that as well.
I'm disappointed to not see the banner of medals on you.
So first question, your strategic priority number 1 is governance, which of course it should be as a governance board. Your objective is oversight of policies, procedures, and practices for effective and efficient police services. Your policies, police service policies, both, which policies are you looking at under that priority?
Ours.
Yours.
Yes.
Do you oversee?
Which are reflected in the LPS.
So the LPS, there is a hierarchy of policies at the Police Commission and Police Service.
Ours is the one that they follow.
Okay.
Yes.
But I mean, theirs has to fit under yours in certain cases. Okay, perfect. Just double checking that. And I'll step out at this time and I'll let others ask questions.
All your contributions to creating this model. Your time spent on the commission was well, yeah.
Anytime I can do policies, you know.
I know, I
I would do
remember.
them in my sleep if people would let me. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Paquette, for being here as well. Councillor Milton Hope.
Thank you. So this is I guess a question to both of you. Pressures. What are the pressures that you're now experiencing? What pressures will be going forward? And of course, I'm thinking specifically of body-worn cameras and the potential impact on corporate budgets for providing for this required resource coming forward. So perhaps you can express how the police service is managing these perceived pressures as we move forward on a new budget coming up.
Thank you for the question, Milton Hope. And yes, those are our primary questions as well, and they have certainly been looked at in the Finance Committee as well as the larger commission meetings. And I'm going to turn it over to Acting Chief Grobmeier.
Thank you. The body-worn cameras is it's something that's coming. It's coming soon. We have a group at the LPS that has been looking at it along with the province and part of the committee. We've just been waiting on the province's procurement process and who they were going to choose, because we have the option of when we do get body-worn cameras, we can do an RFP process on our own. We can join the province's process, or we can actually join on with the RCMP as well. Basically, is whatever we can get the best bang for a buck is the one we'll go with. I think they're all using the same vendor. As for costs, we don't have those numbers exact yet because we've been waiting for the province to get back to us. We have been notified that there will be no funding for municipalities regarding body-worn cameras. So that is a cost that we will have to bear. The cost.
Sorry, when you say no funding, you're speaking specifically of the province. You're not speaking of the city.
Correct, of the province.
Okay.
Yes. The province, at one time there was some debate as to whether or not the province would provide some funding for municipalities for body-worn cameras. What we've been informed is that's not going to happen. Any funding that they have put aside is for the sheriffs. So we have been looking at it, trying to determine what our numbers are regarding and how they reflect with the vendor and what those prices will be. The bigger piece, though, is trying to figure out what the resources we are going to require, because it's not just a matter about a camera and how much the camera costs and how much the software costs, but we also need people to vet the video for us. That is a huge undertaking. So we're trying to determine exactly how many civilians that will require too, so we can come up with a total package of what the costs will be every year going forward.
And I take it this will be part of the budgeting process this fall, because this is a significant amount. It's not a trifling amount of a couple of $100,000, as perhaps some of us thought earlier on. We're talking more than $1 million to be able to provide the cameras and the infrastructure and the personnel. So this will be a request presumably coming forward to council. Have you been in touch with our CFO, Mr. Matthews, to make him alive to the potential impact that this will have?
So we've certainly had preliminary discussions, just making them aware that this is coming. We are in the process of trying to finalize those numbers and then obviously go through our commission first, and then that will be presented so that there's the city and the council can be aware of what the ask is going to be.
Good. Thank you, Deputy Chief. Ms. Paquette.
Councillor Crowson.
Thank you. When we look at your budget for the commission, it has gone up quite dramatically. It's a 41% increase. Does that reflect a different way of the commission working? Does that reflect a larger role for the commission? What does that increase in budget reflect? And what are you doing differently as a result of it?
Could I start with this? Thank you. So if you look back at the budget line, the one that bounces out significantly is the contracts and legal with 112%, which is what brings it up to 41%. And that is because of our the legal fees around, the word just left me, the charges against our chief. And so one would hope that that would not happen again in following years. So this is a blip, and it certainly has been discussed at the Finance Committee as well as the Commission itself repeatedly.
Okay, so within your commission yourself, you're all volunteers. The role has not changed dramatically so that you can maintain it, and you do see this budget increase just for this 1 year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, because again, something like that does get noticed by the public as well as,
It is absolutely eye-watering when you look at 112%. Yeah.
Right. I was hoping you guys were just getting way more training and stuff, but all right, that explains it. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Hi, thanks for being here. I just wondered if you could make a statement or tell me about recruitment with officers and retention and burnout.
Well, I'll start with burnout. So
Yeah.
we've been very fortunate at LPS. We have one of the lowest rates of police officers or members actually being off. So
Which has been a vast improvement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Within a 3-year cycle, it has dropped significantly, and 2024 was by far the best year we've had as long as I've seen the numbers.
Great.
There's a variety of reasons for that. We have a full-time wellness coordinator instead of doing it part-time. People off the side of the desks. We created a fully functioning reintegration model that we never had here at Lethbridge before. We have an early intervention model where we reach out to members before they hit a crisis. So we start identifying when they're going to types of calls, and we reach out to them early. So that's helped with the burnout. So I would say our morale is very good right now, and we have very, very few people that are actually off. And when they are off, we engage with them early on and often, and we bring them back in a different way so they can start to reintegrate into the workforce. Whereas before, the person was off until they were ready to work again. And then we gave them the keys, they went to work. And unfortunately, that model doesn't work. So all those things have come to play. As for retention, we're not seeing anybody leave the organization other than those that have the eligibility to retire. So the retention issue hasn't really been an issue at LPS for the last few years because someone being eligible to retire, we salute them and we support them. Would we like to keep them around for a few years? Absolutely. And sometimes we do work with individuals to see if there's other options. But what we aren't seeing is individuals just quitting or leaving and going to different organizations. Recruiting is a challenge. It is a challenge not just in LPS, not just in Alberta, but across Canada, across North America. Recruiting police officers is definitely a challenge. What we're seeing right now with our recruiters, because we double them from 1 to 2, plus we have a civilian working with them as well. So we basically went from 1 to 3, is that although our applicants, the numbers of applicants aren't really increasing a whole lot, what we are getting is far better applicants. So before, if we wanted 10 cadets in a class, we needed over 100 applicants. We're not seeing that anymore. So our success rate is more around 30% as opposed to 10%. And that's because of the proactive work that our recruiters are doing. So our recruiters aren't just going and looking for somebody saying, hey, we're pretty good, would you like to be a police officer? But they're actually then working with those individuals, helping them through the process or helping them gain any experience that they might need so they can be better applicants later on. So this year alone, I can say we have a recruit class of 8 that is just about to finish in June. We are looking at probably about 4 more experienced officers starting with us in June as well. And we're looking at another class of 8 to 10 in September. And we are anticipating about 8 retirements this year. So we are staying ahead of the curve right now at LPS.
So when you say recruitment is down across the country, can you put your finger on why that is? I mean, because if you come to Lethbridge, you're getting a very competitive salary for one thing. You're living in Lethbridge, but I mean, what can you put your finger on why the recruitment is down across the country?
Well, policing has a stigma. And if you look back in the past few years, what's happened in the United States affects us in Canada. So the George Floyd incident, the defund the police, all the talk about defund the police. Every time a police officer goes out on the road and does something, somebody's sticking a camera in front of their face and videoing them. Everybody is an expert on policing. It is. There's a lot of talk about PTSD, burnout, people not being able to finish their careers. We've all heard of stories of police officers committing suicide because of work. So it's a challenging career, and it is not for the faint of heart. And policing in general is not looked upon the same way it was when I joined in the 90s. So we are battling all those things. And the thing is, the entire society is looking for very good qualified people. So we're looking for the same people. So we're all competing with each other. So it is a challenge right now. We have to work harder and smarter.
And you joined in the 1990s, right?
Correct.
Okay. No, I just wanted, as a comment, I just wanted to say this as a positive, because when I was at McHappy Days downtown, at that McDonald's there, a number of the police force was there, and also the members of the staff were saying it's night and day with the new six new recruits that are working downtown, not only from the perspective of the officers that were there, and also from the staff of McDonald's saying it's been wonderful. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
May I just respectfully add to the conversation that one of the things that the Commission has noticed over the last few years is that the recruits that are coming through are from Lethbridge. Oh. They really enjoy the police services and the esteem and prestige, and they love Lethbridge. And so when we can bring them home, I think that speaks so highly of our police force. So well done.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Crowson.
Thank you again, Chair. We have been setting or making sure all the departments recognize that asset management for the next capital budget is going to be one of our most important priorities, maintain what we have, and that there's very little money for building and for, new things. And I do know that there have been some plans brought forward by LPC and LPS. With that going ahead, are there concerns out of the Police Commission, not necessarily that you have to tell me today, but how will the Police Commission be dealing with that as the reality of, this is the focus, very little money. Do you have backup plans? Are you thinking of backup plans? And if not, how will you be working on that issue?
Well, certainly we're working on backup plans, and it's been a topic of conversation for at least 6 months now, seeing things that are happening and particularly around technology with the police officers. I think the body-worn cameras are just the beginning of things going online and doing things in a different way, which all end up costing a lot of money. And if we are not receiving provincial support, then yes, we need to put our thinking caps on and come up with things. I know that with the building, there's been lots of discussion as to, despite the city providing a building, one of the chief components is the amount of money that might need to be put into place for retroactive kinds of things, and that's throwing everyone a bit of a cautionary web. So yes, we're very aware.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't want you to find out like 2 years from now.
Oh, no, no, we're very aware.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. McQueen. Thanks, Mr. Cormier, Deputy Chief Cormier, for coming. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the work you folks do behind the scenes. I think I speak on behalf of the community, but we really, really appreciate everything the police service has been doing, and a lot of great accomplishments have occurred, especially these last few years. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell, I read the resolution. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I just think there's some good news in there. There's some challenges that we'll be facing as well, but all in general, it's good to get that report. So with that, I will call for the vote.
All those in favor? Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Councillor Schmidt-Rempel. I know Councillor Higgin had to leave, but, Councillor Middleton Hope.
Thank you. I note that Ms. Gleisinger is in the gallery today. Good thing you tried to get out, but you should have left earlier. I want to compliment you and your parks staff in particular on the improvement to sight lines, aesthetics, and safety in Galt Gardens. it looks fantastic. Thank you for the hard work that you and your staff have put into it, and it certainly makes everyone else's efforts all that much more important and makes it much easier. So our staff that have to clean the parks, our police officers and firefighters that have to go in and deal with personnel, it's made a huge improvement. So I just wanted to compliment you and your staff on that. Thank you.
This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Elizabeth.